So you talked about racism implicitly being woven into language in the media. How can we discuss seriously issues in which ethnic overrepresentation is a problem without perpetuating harmful stereotypes about the people involved?
I think one of the issues I've found is pushback, and that people don't want to acknowledge trauma. So, say, for example, a newspaper, and you can throw a stone at almost any newspaper in New Zealand, prints a cartoon which is perceived by the ethnic group that is aimed at as being racist. They come back to the paper and say, we believe this is racist. What would be good is if the paper went, we can see where you're coming from. We understand the trauma, but they don't. They push back and go, no, it's not racist, it's human. And the thing is, you guys don't understand that, which is racist. Because they're saying that people aren't smart enough to understand basic newspaper cartoons.
Right.
So I think part of it comes from being open to the idea of being fair. The problem with systemic racism is that it's just there. Like, you're not actively trying to do it. You're not actively meaning to be malicious towards another ethnic. It's just you've grown up in a society where the norms are skewed towards a racist ideology.
And people don't notice something if it's normal.
Exactly. People think it's normal to be intimidated by young brown men in groups in hoodies. That's not normal. You shouldn't be staring at someone and based on the color of their skin and the style of their clothing, deciding they are a threat to you. Unless they're green and in a spacesuit, in which case, again, we don't know. Then you just it could be a takeover.
I guess that's kind of one of the trappings of humour, in that it can be used for kind of good and highlighting inequalities and injustices, but it can also kind of be used as an excuse to kind of mask.
Totally. I think that's something that you see examples in the professional stand-up comedy. You see examples of people who go too far. And it's always interesting when that happens, because you find out. I've seen some really awesome examples where people have gone too far, been called on it, pushed back, but then taken a moment, and then they've listened, and then they've changed, and they've discussed. And I've also seen a lot of things where they push back and go, no, I can say what I want.
Right.
And a lot of the time, those conversations are missed. I think that's a reality. And you get people going, no, not all men, and yeah, okay, cool. But I think when you're a majority of the voice, then you have a responsibility to call foul on yourself. I think that's something which comedy offers, is the ability for us to laugh at ourselves, but be able to critique ourselves while we're laughing at ourselves. And that makes the blow softer. It doesn't make the introspection less. It just, like I said on stage, it just allows our brains to cope with going into those topics easier. Because I think there's a natural instinct to push back and go, no, I haven't done anything wrong. Because no one wants to be the bad guy.
No. It was, one of the moments in your talk was when you kind of pointed out the kind of very localized representation of Māori in this festival. And obviously that's quite brave to say that in a public kind of platform in front of 900 people. But you incorporated humour into the delivery of it, and it kind of made confrontation a lot easier.
Yeah, and I think I also, Guy Ryan, who runs the thing, I like to think I know him well enough. I can make that joke. I've got enough credit with him that I can call out, and he'll see where I'm coming from. And then the audience gets the example of seeing someone call out.
Yeah.
And I'm also trusting Guy there to respond, not with, I'm real defensive, but to actually, he doesn't even have to do a public thing. He can just, he gets that behind that is that, just investigate. Because I'm not Māori, so I don't know. I'm calling it out from my outsider point of view. Saying, this is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Could be Māori are completely sweet with the representation. Could also be that they were just sitting there going, well, I guess this is how it's going to be.
Right.
But when you've got the ability to do that, I think it's good to at least offer.
Yeah, I really appreciated how one of the things you kind of mentioned in the Auckland political climate, was the racism in the media towards southeastern house buyers.
Yeah, that's I'm genuinely passionate about that. And it seems weird for a Welsh Samoan to be passionate, but it's only because it's so similar to what Pacific people went through during the dawn years. It's that same mentality. And so I go, well, it's 2016. How have we learned nothing? All we've done is change the target. And you see the same responses that I saw from adults when I was a little kid. The confusion, the trauma, the questioning of your own place within the society. I think it's, for me, when I talk about comedy in that, I think it's ridiculous that people can't see it. And so I guess I giggle like that, because I go, well, this is weird. How do you not see it as everyone else sees it?
Yeah.
This is, like, surely you can see it. But that's been brewing for a long time. You know, back in the 90s, that was there. They used to talk about, it wasn't home buyers then, it was drivers.
Right.
I don't know that you're old enough to remember. No. So back in the 90s, people might, I'm 34 now, there was like Listener magazine. What are we going to do about Asian drivers? Not even Southeast Asian drivers, like everyone.
As one conglomerate. Yeah.
You know, even down to political parties have a section of their party. You know, there's Māori, there's Pacific, and then there's ethnic. And ethnic covers Asian, South Asian, and African.
Basically not white.
Not white.
Yeah.
Not white and not Māori or Pure. Like, that's a lot of people. So I do think, I do think it highlights a frustration, but I don't think the way that media and people in power point a finger at a community and go, it's them. We should be better than that.
Right.
And it's frustrating to see us fall into that trap.
Well, when you look at kind of countries overseas where there is a lot more geopolitical instability than here, you see kind of extreme ends of this kind of radical racism and prejudice. But even in a smaller scale in New Zealand, even with like a housing market that's encountering difficulties, it seems that sort of kind of instability and insecurity amplifies.
Totally. I guess that's the thing. If you were going to call out China on something, there are plenty of things you can call out China on. You're going to call out Japan, there are plenty of things you can call out Japan on. But if you're only interested in talking about those societies from a critiquing point of view, is their effect on your home buyer market? What are you doing?
That's a very selfish way of kind of engaging with the international community, and
it's very self-centered, and it doesn't help anyone because it's just pointing and blaming, and no one's offering a pathway. No one's saying, hey, so we feel like this. What are we going to do? They're just like, it's them. It's all. We get rid of them, and it's funny because it is Auckland.
Yeah.
China is like Chinese citizens. No, they're New Zealand citizens. I apologize.
New Zealand citizens
of Chinese descent have got deeper roots than Samoans. They've been here since the gold rush in the 1800s, down underneath deep southern. You don't get more Kiwi than that Kiwi than Central Otago.
Yeah.
Chinese descendants have roots there as New Zealanders, going back generations to deep south. Yet in Auckland, no matter how far their roots go, it's treated with massive disrespect. Like, and it's funny because I think there was a play written until until there's an All Black of Chinese descent, it's that people just going to keep harping on
about how they are taking and not being.
Yeah. What have they ever done? I mean, and this is a great thing because you look at comedy. Ray-Ban Khan is in such a beautiful place to comment on this, and he does. And he uses his medium to comment on it. And sometimes comedy isn't just about calling out, it's about having the right comedian there to call out the issue as well. Right,
because it really matters who's initiating the conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
So I can poke Māori issues, Chinese issues, New New Zealand issues a little bit as a Samoan. Like I said, I'm Welsh and I'm Samoan, my parents are immigrants. So I can poke these issues, I can highlight them. But for someone to really go in and skewer them, it helps if they can bring that personal touch.
Right.
You know? And thankfully, in the comedy industry in New Zealand, you are seeing more diverse voices pop up, so that when these issues arise, there's someone there who can speak personally to it.
So for you, what is, two questions, what is so powerful about political satire? That's my first question. And like, when does it work best and most powerfully and have the most impact? And the second question is, where can it potentially fall short? And like, what needs to be done once that kind of comedy initiates a conversation?
Cool. There's two things I'll do here. One is I'll direct the readers to go and watch John Oliver's post-acceptance speech at the Emmys, because he speaks to that as well, and he's got a much larger voice than me. The other thing is I'll try and answer it all in one thing, and that is that comedy and political satire at its best skewers the perceived power of the power. We forget sometimes with as much status that we get that these people are just people. Politicians are just people. They're ordinary people in extraordinary jobs. Sometimes they're extraordinary. And most often, 90% of them, just average people doing extraordinary jobs. But we give them so much status that we lessen ourselves. So comedy can remind people that, hey man, you know, we all, the vote, my vote is as valid as John Key's vote. You know, and so is yours. You know, we all have that same amount of power. Where it falls short is, in the end, all we can do as comedians is highlight the ridiculousness.
Right.
You know, we can't lead a party. I mean, maybe we could, but that would be weird. Genuinely be weird. So at its best, we, like I said, we light a fire, we encourage people to be active, we activate people who can make a change. So maybe young people in there see me tell jokes and think, I want to get involved in politics, and then they go on and actually make the change.
Right.
I'm just a dude making jokes, hoping to encourage people to. So yeah, there are limitations, but like I said, it allows you to go a bit further than your average speaker. But then in terms of actual engagement, we're just telling jokes.
Seems like you're doing more than just telling jokes at the end of the day.
That's just because I'm real good at telling jokes.
Just a lighter question to wrap things up. Did you by any chance see Hunt for the Wilder People?
Okay, so I haven't seen it yet, but I've been on tour since June.
Yeah.
And I was going to watch it on the flight backwards, but I flew Air Philippines and it wasn't in the film list.
Right.
So, but you know, Tiger doesn't cast me in this film, so I don't see why I'd actually get a cast for all my friends in it. I'm never here.
Yeah.
I really want to see it though.
Okay.
Because it brought back my favourite word in the New Zealand language, scucks.
Scucks is your favourite word?
Scucks is my favourite. If you go on my Twitter page, it says I'm a travelling scucksologist.
Are you spreading that, taking it to all continents?
Yeah, I try and spread scucks as far wherever I go. If I go to the States, because that's our word.
Yeah.
It's legitimately a Kiwi word. And what I love is that depending on what ethnic group you talk to, you made that up. Like, I've met, like, you know, you got Maori and Samoans and Chinese, but I've met Chinese mates of mine who are like, nah, man, because you guys don't have the X. Scucks is Chinese. What do you mean Scucks is Chinese? Yeah, bro. That's why it came up in the 90s, because that's when Asian immigration came up, and that's why you got Scucks there. So, like, all right, claim it.
Claim it. Cool. Thank you.